Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you as always for being here. I love you guys so much. Let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting.
DIY number one. So for this project, I found these adorable little shoe things, booties at the Dollar Tree. They're nice and stiff. And then I've got this Dollar Tree hat that I'm going to take apart. I was actually impressed with how well it was made. It was lined with fleece. So I got all of that out, undid the seams, and then I basically had this tube of knit material. And so I'm just trying to figure out how I want to use it. And I ended up cutting it about in half. And I'm going to use the one part for the body. And at first I figured I would just seal it up like a tube. I did end up, after I sealed this, wanting to go back and kind of adjust the shape of it a little bit. You do want to make sure that you're using your finger protectors for the hot glue because, yeah. So that part where it had the notch in the top, I went ahead and cut that in half, and then the one half I cut in half again. I'm going to make the little arms and mittens. Now, when I cut this, I was thinking, I needed a notch for the little thumb area. If I had it to do again, I would just make a slit, because when you use the hot glue on it, it's going to make that notch more pronounced, and it almost ended up looking a little bit more like a claw than a mitten. But you can learn from my mistakes. So I'm now turning this other body piece, if you will, inside out, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm kind of working, as things dry, I flip other things inside out, or not dry, but cool, you know what I mean? But here I am trimming it again because I decided that, and this is the end that I had glued. I didn't like the shape of it, so I'm just going to glue the parts that I just kind of cut and get that sealed back up again. So then I'm going to fold it in half, and I decided I was going to cut the other end as well. So just making it more of a round shape. So that last piece that I had left, I'm going to glue that to create his hat. So hopefully this is all making sense. I think it's going to make a little bit more sense as I am putting our little friend together here, but sealing everything up with the hot glue and then flipping it right side out so that I have my seams. So here I'm using some Dollar Tree little glass gems for the bottom, and this is just going to help stand our little guy up. At first, I thought I might have the legs coming out from his sitting position. Ultimately, I did have him standing, but that was why I went ahead and put the glass beads in here to begin with. If you are going to make him stand up, you probably don't need the glass beads in this section, but that's what I did. And then I was just kind of helping the shape a little bit more as I was stuffing it. So once I had it all stuffed, I went ahead and grabbed a rubber band, and I'm using that to secure the top there. And then once I had that all nice and secure, I'm going to kind of check and make sure that his little hat is going to fit here. So I'm flipping the hat right side out. And you know what? If you have a sewing machine and you'd like to use your sewing machine for these projects, you absolutely can. I'm still working on getting the tension fixed on my sewing machine, and so I'm using the hot glue. But then I'm going to go ahead and stuff his little mittens and his arms. And then I had sealed up the little end there, and I'm going to attach it with a generous amount of hot glue to the top of his shoulder, so to speak. So I did that on both sides, sealed that up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm also going to seal it with some generous amounts of hot glue to the side of our little friend here. So then I'm going to stuff his little hat, and just going to make sure that it looks like it's going to fit on there. I did add some more stuffing to it, and then I want to make sure that I'm doing his beard. So I was struggling with that a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that it was nice and full. So I'm using one of these Dollar Tree dust mop things, and every time I cut one of these, I find that it tends to fray super easily. So I decided I was going to try something. I'm basically kind of pulling all of the little strands apart. I'm creating not a hem, a part. There we go. I'm going to use my hot glue here, and I'm going to just try to see if creating a line of hot glue, I'm going to do a double line, and then I'm going to cut down kind of in between my lines of hot glue. I'm hoping that this is going to keep this dust cloth from fraying. While I'm waiting for the hot glue to cool, I'm using one of my Arteza markers on a ping pong ball. It's like a flesh tone, creating a nose. So now I'm coming back and I am struggling a little bit with the hot glue, but I am cutting through it, trying to go down between the two lines I made. It pulled away a little bit of the strands here, but after that, it really was, it worked. So highly recommend doing that if you are trying to work with this stuff and want to keep it from fraying. So I secured it to my little, I'm going to call him a gnome, and then I'm going to put his hat on. And I'm going to work from the back forward. So I'm flipped up the end of his hat, and I'm not worried about the frayed edge because I'm going to be doing something in a little bit to finish that off and make it look nice and finished. So don't worry about the frayed edge there. But I'm working my way around with the hot glue and just getting it up underneath his little cap to make sure it's secured to his head. And then as I get around to the front, I'm going to go ahead and tuck in his nose and make sure that that's all nice and secured as well. And you just want to be careful with the hot glue with the ping pong ball because it will pop the ball. So just don't want to be pressing too hard on it because it'll just crush the ball and you won't really have a round nose anymore. So now I'm taking these little white pom-poms because I didn't really have anything else in my stash for this. You could use probably cotton. You might even be able to use something like batting. I'm not sure. I had these little white pom-poms, so that is what I am using to trim out his little hat. Again, just be real careful with the hot glue. So I found for me personally, if I put a little bit of hot glue on each little ball, I was able to position it the way that I wanted. But again, just be careful because I did end up burning myself. I probably should have used my finger protectors. But when I was placing one of these little balls down, I kind of wasn't paying enough attention to where I'd placed the hot glue and I got my finger in it. So once I had it around his little hat, I went in and I did a round around his wrists to create little cuffs or for his sleeves. And I am going to go in later and do another round, but for right now, I decided I want to put his little shoes on. So I'm using more of these glass beads. I just wanted to help make it bottom heavy. And I'm positioning him on here and he's standing up on this without any problem. So I'm going to come in and I'm giving copious amounts of hot glue, just being real generous with the hot glue. And I'm going to set him right down on top of there and let that hot glue cool. I'm just kind of messing with his shape again. So now I have this black felt, and it's adhesive felt that I'd gotten from Arteza. I'm cutting 2 strips because it wasn't quite long enough to go around his middle. I'm making him a belt. So you can see I've got him laying face down right now. I'm going to wrap the belt around. I had it start in the middle of his back, and then I'm going to trim it off in the front. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see there. And then I'm going to line up the other piece at the back. So butted those right up against each other. I'm going to do the same thing at the front, butting them up against each other. And I've got these cute little snowflake stickers, and I made one his little belt buckle. And then I decided I wanted to fancy up his little hat with some of these snowflakes as well. So just adding snowflakes in whichever way was making my heart happy, just kind of random. And here he is, our little Santa friend. I love him. Let me know what you think. DIY number 2. So does this little guy look familiar? I made him back in Christmas in July. I'll leave a link in the description box in case you didn't get to see me make him. But my sister figured out how to make a cartoon out of him. So we took a picture and this is what she created. I was so excited. So I printed it out on Waterslide paper from Hippo, and I'm sealing it up with the matte acrylic spray that I showed you. When you do this, you want to make sure that you do it 3 times and let it dry in between. And now I'm cutting it down. I do have a complete video on Waterslide and how it actually works. So I'm rushing through this a little bit, but we'll leave a link for that video as well in case you want all of the details on how to do this. But it's super easy and you can print pretty much anything off of an inkjet printer and create your own decals. So I've slid it off onto my little white Dollar Tree mug, and I'm using my paper towel to kind of squeegee all of the water out. Keep in mind this is sped up about 3 times, so I am being pretty gentle and just going slow in trying to get that water out so that I don't damage my decal. So once I have it all in place, and you can see you can adjust it. So now I'm kind of holding it down in the middle so that even as I'm gently wiping it, I don't want it to slide. I want it to stay put. So if you like this little guy as much as I do, I'm excited to tell you that he is available in my Etsy shop as a digital download, so a printable, as well as on t-shirts and mugs. So if you don't want to create your own, it's out there for you and available. So I hope that you'll check that out. There is a link in my description box. DIY number 3. So this is my inspiration picture from Kirkland's. It was $39.99. I am going to create my own version with this round wood pallet sign, I suppose you could say. I don't remember if I got this from Michael's or from Walmart. It was one of those two. It's been in my stash for a while, and I finally decided that this is what I wanted to do with it. So giving it a really rough coat of paint with my home decor Adirondack white chalk paint, leaving some of the wood to kind of show through. Once I had that all nice and dry, I am using one of my Arteza paint markers. This is in a brown color. I'm trying to remember what the brown shade is. I think it's the only like chocolate brown color in there. But I am kind of creating my vine around the outside first. And I'm just I'm looking at the picture, to be honest with you, and I'm kind of free forming what I'm doing. Now, this is sped up about 3 times, so you can tell I really am going slow. I'm taking my time. I'm being deliberate about where I want to put these. I might be being a little too careful, if you will. You know, you could totally do this free form. It is not difficult. I am just being a little extra here. So once I had that the way that I wanted it, I'm coming in with another paint marker. This is a chalk paint marker by Arteza, and it's like a cranberry color. I think it was called Wine, but just making little berries around in different places on my vine and just kind of spreading those around. So now I am taking a pencil and I am just kind of getting my letters set and in place. Again, this is sped up about 3 times right now. I'm always tickled when everybody says, "Oh, you've got such beautiful handwriting." I'm like, that is not my handwriting. So I am going to slow it down in just a minute. And so you can see just how slow I really am going with this when I do my hand lettering. Now, obviously this is much larger hand lettering than what I normally do, but you can see I really am drawing these letters, and I love using the pencil because I can erase it when I mess it up and I can get it where I want it. So once I had my basic outline of my letters, I'm coming in with my chalk paint marker and I'm going over it. This is still sped up, you guys. This is still 3 times. Okay, this is normal speed, right? So now I've slowed it down. You can see I'm really taking my time. I am drawing these letters. I am not writing these letters. So I hope that makes some sense. And I hope that that makes you feel a little bit more like this is something you could tackle yourself. You can see how slow I'm going here, right? So it really is drawing. It's taking your time. Don't be afraid to use pencil to get the letters the way you want them before you come in with your paint. And then I'm just going over the pencil really, and I'm just trying to make sure that I am following my guides. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up again for you in just a second, but I did want to slow it down so you can see exactly how much time I take and how deliberate I am. And yeah, so be kind to yourself, take your time, and you can do this. You really can do this. And I'm still in a regular speed. Sorry, I guess I figured I would show you a little bit longer how I do this and how long it actually does take me to do it. But I promise you in about 5 more seconds, I'm going to put it back to 3 times the speed. So this won't be as painful to watch. So here we are, sped up again. So now this is 3 times speed. You can see it still looks pretty slow, right? And this is actually at 3 times sped up. And so we'll use some little movie magic to kind of work through this so that you can see how it develops and you don't have to sit and watch as I do this entire thing. But I hope that you're enjoying this video. If you haven't already subscribed, I would be grateful for your subscription if you're enjoying these projects. I've been really enjoying all of my journey over YouTube, and I appreciate y'all so much. So now I have shown you that I'm going to be using my Waverly chalk paint. The one I'm using right now is celery, and the other color that I have there is fern. I did consider using more paint markers for this and then opted to use the actual chalk paint. I just figured with the brush I was going to have a little bit better time with getting the shapes that I wanted. So you could certainly use the paint markers if you're more comfortable with that, but don't be afraid to use the paint, right? So I'm just coming in. I had gone through and made a bunch of little leaves in the celery color, and now I'm coming in around my vines with some of the darker green, the fern color. And once I have all of the leaves that I want, I am going to come in with opposite colors on each of the leaves to give a little bit of dimension. So you can see here I'm using some of the darker green on the lighter green. And then once I have all of that set, I'm going to come back in with some more of the lighter green. And when I came back in with the celery again, and you're going to see that in a second, I did use it to kind of tone down some of the areas with the dark green that I might have had a little heavy hand here and there. So just keep at it with the paint until it's the way that you like it, right? So paint is easy because you can paint right over it. But I'm loving this, and I hope you love it too. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Cute Valerie, some beautiful little projects. I love it. Thank you so much. And adorable Sarah. She's got a gnome, very similar to my little guy, but this, I guess her mom did that. And beautiful Rose, some more beautiful wood rounds. Pretty Crystal. Crystal's been sending me some pictures. So nice. And gorgeous Patty. These eggs are amazing. That hand painting is gorgeous. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. So this is a piece wood cut out from the Dollar Tree, and then I have a whole bunch of tissue paper that I picked up at Costco, and I'm just going to pick out one of the pieces of tissue paper. I did this trick in my last video and I loved it so much I had to do it again on a larger piece. So many thanks to my friend Deirdre at Our Upcycled Life for showing this in one of her videos, because that was how I discovered it. But I gave it a good coat of my Adirondack white chalk paint, and now I'm going over the top with Mod Podge, a really good coat of Mod Podge all the way to the edges, and I'm bringing my tissue paper down over it. I'm smoothing out the wrinkles as best that I can. And then once that's all secure, I'm gonna go ahead and trim off all the excess. And then I'm grabbing my lighter. And this again is just so satisfying to me. I love this trick. You know, in the past, I've spent so much time trying to sand the edges off of these signs, and yeah, so you burn it and then you take your little brush and sweep it away. So, and then you saw me kind of poking little holes in the places that were enclosed in wood, so to speak. So poked little holes in it and then just hitting it with my lighter as well, and just brushing all the little ashy edges away. And that's it. Let me know what you think. DIY number 5. So for this DIY, this is my gift for this video. So as we lead up to the holidays, my intention is to do holiday decor and craft ideas, but then also I want to include a gift in a gift idea in each video. This is for my daughter. She is in a sorority and she saw a really cute top that she showed me, and I am kind of recreating it for her. This is with my Cricut. I'm using infusible ink. I do have another video where I go into detail on how this works, so I'll make sure I link that in the description box as well. But I'm using my little lint roller, which is really important to make sure that there's no lint on here. I've got cardstock in under the shirt to protect it, and now I am just giving it a quick press, and you're supposed to do that and then let it cool completely before you start applying the infusible ink. So this is a layered project, so I'm using 2 different colors or patterns, if you will, of the infusible ink. So you piece it together and then you apply it all at once. So it's really kind of cool. So the backing with this is sticky, and then the infusible ink itself is almost like a heavy paper, like a light cardstock. It's kind of neat to work with. So I'm just piecing it all together, and once I have it ready, by the time I had it ready, my shirt was cool and I was ready to go ahead and place it down where I wanted it. So I'm just making sure it's all lined up, putting my butcher paper down. I have my little things set for the time that I need. Do not move it like I just did. You want to make sure once you press it down, you don't want to slide it. But I was so happy. I was like clapping there because I thought it looked so cool. It came out so well. If you have any little pieces that stick, don't use your fingers, use your little tweezers. But here is her cute little tea, and I love it. And I hope you do too.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the project. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment. It actually helps YouTube to recognize me, and then they will refer me to other people. So I sincerely appreciate the support. Until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you again for watching. Take good care. Bye.